What's up, everybody? This is Next Fan Ben, and welcome to a 5-year recap video about Vassal Campaign Game 4. So CG4 started way back in April of 2018. So in 2023, we've already seen the 5-year anniversary of the game. So the premise of a campaign game is basically that the gold you bring back to your home island, or in this case resources, can be used to purchase new ships and crew and equipment in order to make your fleet bigger and better. So it gets crazy because there's essentially an unlimited size to the game, at least theoretically. So there's been 3 previous Vassal campaign games. This one, obviously, the 4th, and this one is by far the longest running. So this one has 3 different players. Each of us control 4 different factions. So Xerix has the Spanish, the Jade Rebellion, the Conglomerate, and the English. And the Conglomerate is basically a non-WizKids faction comprising all non-Dutch and non-WizKids factions. So anything from like Sweden, Hyrule, Denmark, any kind of custom factions that are not Dutch basically are in the Conglomerate, which is also called the Alliance, but usually the Conglomerate is the name for it. I control the Pirates, the Curse, the Vikings, and the Barbary Corsairs. And then Pirate AJ14 controls the Dutch, the Americans, the Mercenaries, and the French. So there's already more factions in the game than WizKids even made in the first place. So it's really crazy. But these factions are not allied by default. Each faction is playing their own game. So they can align with each other, of course, but each faction that we control is basically acting in its own independent interests. So it's been super fun. The game has become completely bonkers crazy. It's, I would say, by far the craziest Pirate CSG game I've ever been involved in, which is saying a lot because I've been playing some really crazy campaign games over the years. The combos and customs in this one specifically are what's made it really ludicrous. So the factions sailed in from the edge of the map. From this first picture, in the corners or on the edges here, you can see the couple different faction flags from cruise ships. It's a really big map in the Vassal module. So I used like a random order to determine factions coming in from the side. So instead of starting with a home island, they were able to sail in, and then the first island that each faction explored became its home island. So we're using Economy Edition resource rules from Cannon Fury, just like we've done for some of the other Vassal campaign games. We've got Round Earth rules. You can check all these out in the link in the description below, but this is going to be a 5-year recap, so it's kind of just broad strokes and not super detailed compared to the full reports, which you can check out on my site at Pirates with Ben. So the winner is going to be the last fleet afloat. So in order to win the game, you basically have to eliminate all of the other 11 factions. So this could take decades if this game ever ends. So it's already been going on for 5 years, and there is absolutely no end in sight. So another one of the major house rules we have is 2 hits per mast. So instead of 1 hit to eliminate a mast, you need 2, but they do not have to come from the same shoot action, and they can come on different player and different faction turns. And all customs are legal with the exception of a few on a ban list, and we're not playing with events. Those are banned as well. So the customs have gotten really crazy. Customs are subject to modification or banning through player voting. The 3 of us can vote on things like that. But anyway, so there's been a ton of customs. So I'll start going through the pictures here. I'm going to go pretty much as quick as possible. So we got the Northwest. The archipelago is in the middle. So that's 5 islands that have gold on them. In addition to the resources, they start with gold. We started the game with 3 unique treasures per island. This is a vortex with the whirlpool surrounded by reefs. So the archipelago in the middle, none of those islands could be chosen as home islands. The fog pool is basically a whirlpool inside of a fog bank. We've got a shipwreck in the northeast, the turbulence section in the southeast with a ton of terrain, and then a couple unique little terrain features and whatnot. So getting into some of the gameplay, it was kind of slow developing at the start, as most campaign games are. With this huge map, there's quite a big distance between most of the islands, so it takes a bit longer to accumulate resources and gold than in some of the other Vassal campaign games that you may have read about in the past. So the pirates took some of the first combat of the game and shot up the Santa Isabel from the Spanish, and they would eventually capture her. And the Jade Rebellion was the first faction to explore the archipelago. You can see one of their green explorer tokens right in the very middle of the map there a little bit. And my factions usually, for the most part, they got off to a pretty good start. Here you can see the pirates and the corsairs trying to share a textiles island. So this would eventually, pretty quickly, actually come in under some tension. So they would pretty much be the first factions to fight in a more larger scale conflict, which has continued over the years for sure. So, and then the Cursed in the northwest, looks like the Americans are kind of making a move on them. All these pictures are so far are from like 2018, 19, 20. So 2020 was the year that saw the most action, I would say, so far. And now the game is so large that it's really hard to play more than about one round per year. So only one turn was played in 2021, and so far in 2023, just one round as well. So the pirates have shot at the corsairs, but the corsairs had a plan, and here they used Neptune's trident to blast like 7 different pirate ships to eliminate a ton of masts, and then they followed it up with some of their best custom 4-masted galleys, smashing up the pirates. And there's another shot of the Neptune's trident damage done. And then I try to do a full ocean picture at the end of each round overall. And the pirates basically used a bunch of spying abilities where you can look at face down treasure on islands and or ships to create what they call the GSP, which is the Global Surveillance Program. So this is like the NSA in the game. So they can spy on like 4 or 5, I think, crew or UTs, or coins, I should say, per turn. And they used it early in the game when there weren't as many of those to basically, through the course of a bunch of turns, they were able to see pretty much all the unique treasures in the game, like what they were and where. So they were able to glean info that no of the other factions had complete access to, because they launched a ton of their spying stuff really early. So they saw a Nemo's plans face up on the Noble Swan, and then they saw that a Runes of Thor was face down on that ship, which is a ridiculous combo because it basically means you can automatically force a die roll to a 6 every turn, and it stays in play via Nemo's plans. So they used one of my custom 5 masters to go out and dismask the Noble Swan, and then soon after they would capture her. And the pirate counterattack on the Corsairs was devastating. They used a custom 10 master, the Storm Cloud, which has fog hopping, to absolutely devastate the Corsair quartet of 4-masted galleys and just completely annihilate their attack. So it looked like the Corsairs were doing really good with that attack, and then the pirate counterattack just completely nullified all of it. So the pirates reestablished their dominance. Here the Cursed are using what meager gold and their one main gunship, the Grand Misfortune, to try to make a stand against the Americans who are amassing off their home island. But I had a plan. So it was risky, but I thought I was ready, and we'll see how that goes here pretty soon. And the pirates were also gathering a lot of resources. Here you can see some of their fleet going to and from their home island. They have like a dual-sided home island via Round Earth. And then the Spanish did pretty well for themselves throughout the early part of the game as well. Here the Cursed attacked the Americans, and I used a bunch of UTs. There was a crazy UT combo sequence where fireworks and power cannons and stuff like that were used to blast the Julius Caesar. And then one of their ships used explosives, and with an assist from the pirates with that Runes of Thor, they flipped the explosives roll to a 6 to blow up one of the American gunships that was encroaching on Cursed home waters territory. So, and that would not be the last of pirate Cursed cooperation, which we've seen continued over the years that this game has been played. So here the pirates have captured a bunch of the Corsair ships, and now that I control the Vikings and the Corsairs and the pirates, all their home islands are relatively close to each other. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Usually that's not the case when you control multiple factions of a campaign game. You don't want them right next to each other, but in this case, it's actually been really pretty fascinating to watch how it turns out. And then the Spanish were actually able to explore the archipelago as well and kind of capitalize on it a little bit more than the Jade Rebellion, whose fleet has been small for quite some time. So the Spanish launched some native canoes there, and they also have native canoes at the Whirlpool Island just southwest of their home island. Here, the pirates have captured the Noble Swan with that crazy UT combo and are towing her home. The French and Dutch just running resources for the most part in the southwest. And they have, I think, some talks of an alliance, which is always interesting. Here, the pirates did a surprise attack on the Spanish through the Whirlpool and just blasted them like crazy. And they would eventually win that battle. And the pirates have developed some launch points. They have a military port on the Textiles Island, south of their home island, so they can launch from that. And then the game started to get really crazy. So this is when things got bonkers. So JW Darkhurst has a custom schooner called the Arcane, and you can basically, I think, not give the ship an action to roll a d6, and if you get a 6, you can bring in a unique treasure from outside the game and place it on one of your ships. So immediately that brings to mind some crazy WizKids combos, such as the Runes of Thor and Nemo's Plans combo. But I had even bigger plans in mind because custom UTs were also available. And Xerix has a hidden trove UT that says the ship is worth 2x the total number of ships in play. So you can imagine in a campaign game where ships are getting launched pretty much every turn, and there's 12 factions, you can immediately think that that's going to be worth quite a lot of gold, which it was. So the pirates started scheming with a lot of these ideas and UTs, and here is their first mega launch. So they basically were able to bring in the hidden trove, and then eventually they've comboed it with some other stuff too. And the battle reports have the full details. I'll probably make some additional videos about this in the future, hopefully. But they were able to use another custom UT called the Even Star and triple the value of a hidden trove. So they're able to, if hidden trove is worth 400 gold with 200 ships in play, then you can use a different UT to triple that to 1200. So then you get a 1200 gold windfall, for example, in one turn. Place both UTs on a ship that's already docked at your home island, and then give that ship an explore action to target the home island and unload both for 1200 gold. And then you can use that 1200 gold to launch more ships. So then the next turn, the next hidden trove you bring in will be worth more gold. So then if you launch 20 ships, the next hidden trove would be worth 440 gold, with now 220 ships in play. So you can start to see where this gets really crazy. And then you can also use other custom UTs and things like the copy ability from Davy Jones' Curse to copy the Arcane's ability, which is what the Curse did. So the Curse were able to basically do the same thing, and then they started mega launching as well. So they put one of their craziest customs in play and started to go nuts, just like the pirates. So things started to devolve into madness. And here you can see the pirates have another military port, and they've got a lighthouse, which is a custom island piece from Jeremiah, the Nine of Spades. And here you can see some of the pirate launches heading for a whirlpool. They got multiple 10 masters in play, and they completely took over the archipelago. Totally took it over from the Spanish, drove the Spanish out, and then they brought in more hidden troves to mega launch again and again, so that they keep the gold party going. And they kept using their surveillance system, the global surveillance program, to check out UTs. They used it to bring in a Pandora's box, which they used as like an extortion scheme to try to force other factions to give them positive UTs. Most factions didn't comply, but some gave them positive UTs, but they still weren't what the pirates wanted. The pirates demanded all these custom UTs that are like extremely powerful and sometimes game breaking. So, and here we can see a cursed mega launch at their home island with multiple 10 Masters launched, including Chimera, one of my custom 10 Masters from Pirates of the Epic Seas. And one of the hardest things about this game has actually been tracking what factions should launch. So, for example, now there's more custom sets and custom game pieces available to us as players in the game than there are original pieces. So the number of customs and custom sets far outnumber the number of WizKids pieces and sets. So you can imagine that the combos have just become completely ludicrous to a degree never seen before. So, and then it started to get even crazier because the Corsairs brought in their custom copying ship and used it to bring in the trove. And now they've started mega launching as well. And we know they have a beef with the pirates. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see how that plays out. Here's a ton of pirate ships coming to and from their home island. The pirates attacked the Spanish at the Whirlpool Island. Here we can see 3 of their 10 Masters came warping through the Whirlpool and attacked pretty hard. And were able to devastate that Spanish squadron at that island. And the pirates have continued to mega launch pretty much every single turn. So they are just putting in as many ships into the game as possible because they have grand designs and grand plans for a lot of different things. And they have a beef with a lot of the factions. So they need firepower to pull off what they want to do. So, and the Curse would continue to mega launch as well. Here they've fought back against the Americans. The Americans started this conflict with the Curse, at least for the most part. They kind of encroached on their home waters a bit, and then the Curse fought back and won that little skirmish. But now that the Cursed are filthy rich with a hidden trove, they've basically pushed themselves into American waters for revenge and have attacked them. And the Curse have continued to mega launch, as have the Barbary Corsairs, who have gotten at least one hidden trove since they started with the troves. So that covers quite a lot of what's happened. The pirate plans also include a few things that they haven't revealed. The acronyms are GMS and WSG, which will be revealed in time. And the Corsairs and the Vikings, quite a while back, they actually formed like a secret alliance. And you can see their home islands in this picture. The Vikings at the left, like upper left, and then the Corsairs with those galleys in the middle. And they're both like really close to the pirate home island and close to that textiles island where the pirates have mega launched multiple times from their military port. So the Corsair Viking alliance could prove key, and they semi-recently reinstigated that alliance because it had kind of fallen apart a little bit over some years, but now they've kind of come back to center and agreed to stay in an alliance together or restart it essentially. So, and the pirate cursed cooperation has become more obvious by the round, such as this past turn when the Leviathan, which is a 5-master with D movement, custom by Vlad's Impaler, one of the classic members of miniature trading and Pojo from back in the day, used the Neptune's Trident to blast the Spanish right next to their home island, actually. And soon afterwards, the Cursed were able to warp into the area with a custom fort that allows you to travel through whirlpools, and they upgraded it so that you can launch from the fort, which means they basically can launch from whirlpools, which is extremely devastating and scary. So the Curse just this past turn launched 4 10 Masters from an upgraded whirlpooling fort right next to the Spanish home island. And the pirates have a Tempest custom 5-master that allows for whirlpool creation on a 6. So if you roll a 6, you can put a whirlpool anywhere in play. But keep in mind the pirates have the Runes of Thor plus Nemo's Plans combo. They actually use the Arcane, her ability to bring in multiple other copies of Runes of Thor and Nemo's Plans on other ships. So the pirates now have 3 different sources of auto 6s and 3 sources right now where they can get the Arcane to bring in more more UTs. So they essentially have this crazy like UT production system, as they call it, where they can bring in 3 unique treasures from outside the game every single turn, guaranteed. And those can be used to further the system and bring in even more or create even more auto sixes. So it's like the beast feeds itself, and it's like a closed loop system where they continue to expedite their progress and continue to just dominate. So they've also set up chain exploring to save me some time so I don't have to give all their ships actions every turn. And then one of the craziest things that I kind of skipped over, but you can see here as well, is that now that they can bring in UTs, the Pirates and the Curse also have access to the Odin missile, which is a WizKids combo using Runes of Magic and Runes of Odin, where you bring in an iceberg from outside the game, and it has basically any ship that touches the iceberg, her and all of her cargo are removed from play immediately. And then Runes of Magic, you can move any iceberg in play, L, in any direction. So you place the iceberg and then immediately slam it into an enemy ship, and then that ship is gone. So this is basically a missile, like a precision strike missile on command. And now that Runes of Odin and Runes of Magic are on the ships, of course they're on the ships with Nemo's plans, so it's reusable. So the Pirates and the Curse both have a reusable Odin missile combo. So both of those factions are capable of eliminating at least one ship from play every single turn without fail. And they also both have the ability to bring in additional copies of those same UTs, so they can create multiple Odin missiles if they want to. And the Chimeratron Legacy 10 Masters have been going nuts, hitting the Americans and whatnot. And soon we'll see, so you see another Pirate Mega Launch there. You can see that the density of the ships is starting to get really out of control. And my last turn saw the Pirates finish their launch phase with 196 ships in play. So this round that I'm about to play in summer 2023 will see them be the first fleet I've ever seen to eclipse 200 ships in a fleet. Overall, I control 297 ships as of this video. So this coming round will see me launch more ships, so that next round, when it starts, I'll probably control well over 300 ships total. And the game, at the end of this round, the game will be well over 400 total ships in play. We're at 390 right now. So one hidden trove is worth 780 gold. So, which is enough to launch a bunch of ships, obviously. So the Pirates have also launched an anti-Spanish squadron, which you can see at the top of this picture, heading north, which in that case is towards the Spanish home island. So we'll see how that plays out. The Cursed have captured a couple American ships in their attacks on them. And the Cursed also have a custom ship that allows you on I think a 4 through 6 to yank an enemy ship with an allowable whirlpool into the whirlpool. So that happened to the Colector del Dia, and then she was placed right next to their other whirlpooling copy of the fort, which sank it. So the custom combos have gotten completely unprecedented to, I would say, a dizzying degree. I was reviewing some of the gameplay and some of the previous battle reports and some of the combos available today, and it's shocking. I'm constantly at a loss for words. It's so complicated now that it's almost hard to play. It's hilarious. So the Corsairs have gone and done something crazy. So they've attacked the Pirates again. So their previous attack, way earlier in the game, back in like early 2020, four galleys to try to retake the Textiles Island, which they briefly succeeded at. That was rash. And now they've attacked at an even bigger points deficit. So they've thrown some of their best customs into play and have attacked the Pirates again, even though this massive pirate fleet is just to the west of their attack force. So we're going to see how this craziness plays out. Neither faction has actually declared war on each other, which may seem like a silly thing to say. But for me, as a player in a campaign game, especially, declaring war is like kind of a big deal, basically. The Pirates have actually declared war on the Spanish, but that's the only declaration of war that I've seen so far. So we'll see that this might devolve into that, but we'll see how things develop. And the pirates are threatening to build basically a town which restricts resource access at this northeastern island. So we'll see how that goes. The Corsair Galleass rammed the Blackleaf there to try to delay her progress. So, and the Corsairs still have plenty of gold. So they've been putting into play some of their own island upgrades as well. So let me see. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. So this has become the biggest Pirates game of all time. It's surpassed Command the Oceans, my physical campaign game from 2017, because this last point count revealed well over 9,000 points in play. And at the launch pace that I'm going at now, this turn that I'm about to start tomorrow is easily going to push the game past 10,000 points. So if that gives you an idea, the standard game 1v1 at 40 would be 80 points. So this is going to see CG4 become the first ever Pirate CSG game that I have ever heard of or know about to eclipse 5 digits worth of points. So I used to think, 2,000, 3,000 points would be a big campaign game. Now it almost looks like child's play. It's crazy how this has completely outstripped most past campaign games and will soon become the first game to reach 10,000 total points in play. And I'm sure it will eventually break the ships record, which is around 500 total ships in play. So this is a color-coded faction map I made based on what the factions control. So the pirates in the northeast have obviously been encroached on a bit by the Corsairs and Vikings, and the English are near the Corsairs actually, which will be interesting. So we'll see if that draws them into conflict with either faction a little bit. The Cursed have a stronghold at their home island in the northwest, and they've pushed a little bit northeast towards the Americans. And then that dark purple just east of the center is where that recent Cursed mega launch happened, right by the Spanish home island. The Spanish used to control more territory, but they lost the Whirlpool Island to the pirates and are now kind of fleeing for their life, it seems, at least a little bit, because they've come under attack by the two most powerful factions in the game, the Pirates and the Cursed. The Pirates also have a stronghold in the center at the archipelago where they have a military port and have done multiple mega launches. The Vikings have mostly just run resources to their nearby island, but they have actually used Jord, a copier crew, to finally get a hidden trove recently. She failed the roll a few times, but recently she got a 6 copying the arcane, brought in a trove, and now the Vikings are pretty rich as well, at least for the time being. So they mega launched some gunships, so they're looking more competitive now. The mercenaries have spread out a bit, but they still have a pretty small fleet. Same for the Jade Rebellion, the French and the Dutch, for the most part, mostly peaceful factions that have done some resource gathering and whatnot. The Conglomerate has a copier as well, and they actually mega launched. They were the first victim of the Odin missile. They had a custom 10 master that got missiled out of the game by the pirates, but they're still looking pretty good, and they have most of the ships intact from the mega launch that they did from that hidden trove. So the Conglomerate are looking pretty good as well right now. So that completes this 5-year recap video about Vassal Campaign Game 4. It's been, I would say, the most overwhelming Pirates game I've played in quite some time. Command the Oceans is the only thing that can truly contest that. But that game was a physical campaign game played over the course of just 3 months. So this one has its own unique challenge where there's usually a pretty big break in between player turns, because you send the file on, then the next player plays their turn once they're able to. But it might be like a year before you get the file back to play your turn, or even just a few months is enough to kind of forget some of the details. And I actually have a spreadsheet for each of my 4 factions at this point where I keep track of the different ships and all the crew aboard and what their base moves are and whether or not they have extra action capability, things like that. So it's become this crazy logistical chaotic game where the combos have just made things completely ludicrous on a scale and level never seen before. And now the game has topped Command the Oceans and Xerx's recent Century of Economy game, or at least it will, that latter one, as the biggest game of all time. And it will continue to grow because there's no real limit to how big it can get, essentially. So, thanks for watching. I'll put the battle reports in the description below. There's a chronological post on Pirates with Ben that has links to all the battle reports, so you can check out the game and see how much it's grown from its fledgling start in 2018 with the factions mostly peacefully running treasures and or resources and whatnot, to how it completely broke the game and exploded and devolved into this chaotic hellscape where the pirates and Curse have gone completely nuts. So I'll probably make more Vassal Campaign Game 4 videos as well, but this is, I think, a good recap and hopefully gets you back up to speed without having to read all the battle reports if you didn't want to, because that would take multiple hours for sure, if not many, many, many hours. So thanks again for watching. This is A7X Fan Ben signing off for now.